Uniswap crypto price prediction and technical analysis, and we're on the monthly chart. And what do we have at this point? What we have at this point is the structure over here, which is a double top, which has a neckline there, and we now want to see price come back to that area to test it out. And should that happen, at that point is where we would look for buy opportunities. I'm just going to add a neckline for that double structure or double bottom. There we go, more or less. There we go. We want to see price come back more or less to this level, and as I said, to just give it a test. And at that point is where we would look for potential buy opportunities, especially, as I always say, if the line aligns with any key numbers on the Fibonacci retracement tool. And just to utilize Fibonacci, just to see if any key numbers align with the neckline. And we can see that the neckline, which is over here of this double bottom, doesn't really align with any key numbers, so we can just disregard Fibonacci. And then from here I'm just going to head down to the weekly chart. And on the weekly chart, again, just to recap, on the monthly chart we spoke about how the market had created this structure, gave us a neckline, price broke to the upside of that structure. We now want to see price come back again to the neckline to give it a test, and if that happens, at this point is where we will look for potential buy opportunities. But what do we see on the weekly chart? Let's have a look. On the weekly chart, I can see that we have this candlestick. It is a liquidity candlestick, which means that we have a lot of money stuck here, and we may see potentially price come back to that level at the very least to test it, as well as to grab that liquidity and then potentially move further up. However, ideally we want to see price come back to that level, as I said, and at that level is where we would look for buy opportunities. Another thing that is also very much interesting is that as much as we have this candlestick, we also have this one over here, which is the opposite of this one, in that this one is a bullish candlestick, and it's also carrying a lot of liquidity at that point at the top, and it indicates that we are indeed going to see probably price move to the upside to track, or rather to trigger that liquidity, right? From here I'm just going to head down to the daily chart, and here we are on the daily chart. On the daily chart, I'm just going to add my daily channel, and I would add it more or less in this manner, and just bear with me, guys. Let's see. Yeah, so there goes our daily channel. And just to zoom out again, and just to recap, remember guys, we spoke about how the market had given us this, as well as the neckline, which is now also a very strong level of support, and ideally we want to see price come back to that level, and at that point is where we would look for buy opportunities. But let's just zoom in and see what's happening on the daily chart. On the daily chart, we can see that the market is in a somewhat, downtrend, right? And another thing that's also very much interesting is that the market has given us what seems to be a, if I can just draw it, what seems to be a head and shoulders pattern, right? And we may potentially see price from that level move further down to around this level, which would be in line with where it had started. And ideally that's what we would want to see as the structure started here, and ideally we want to see price come back to that level, and not only to complete that structure, but also to, remember, test this very strong level of support, which is also the neckline of that double structure. And at this point is where we would look for further buy opportunities, right? And as much as the market had given us this pattern, which is a head and shoulders pattern, we can also see that it has a neckline more or less at that point, and chances are, should price close below that neckline as well as violate this trend line, we're likely going to see the market move further down to around this level, right? Another thing that I also want to bring to your attention is that the market had also given us this overextended double top, which also has a neckline there, right? So it is quite possible that we may still see price move all the way to that point, and at that point we may potentially look for sell opportunities. I'm just going to add my neckline for that overextended double top. Let's see. Here we go. And it also adds as confluence in that this overextended double top, which has a neckline there, aligns with the fact that we also have this pattern, which is a head and shoulders pattern, with the side being the left shoulder, this being the head, and this area over here potentially being the right hand shoulder, right? So at this point what I'm doing is I'm gathering confluence, and reasons for why we may potentially see the market move further down, right? But what else do we see at this point? So what I'm going to do now, guys, is just utilize the Fibonacci retracement tool, and let's see if, let's see. So what we want to see is, should price from where it is currently actually move all the way to the neckline of that double top or overextended M structure, which is over here, by the way. We can see that the market aligns with the 50% Fibonacci, or rather the neckline aligns with the 50% Fibonacci retracement level, and should price from where it is, as I said, move all the way to that level, this level that is, right, it would be a nice area to look for potential sell opportunities. And just bear in mind that we also have the structure, which is a head and shoulders pattern, in addition to this double top or overextended M structure, which has a neckline there. And I said we want to see price come back to that level, and at that level we may see the market again move further down, right? Let's just delete the structure. So what else do we see, guys, at this point? I don't see much. Let's head down to the H4 chart and let's see what's happening down there. Let's have a look. And just to recap again, remember, guys, on the daily chart we mentioned that price had given us the structure, right, which is in a head and shoulders pattern, rather, which has a neckline there, more or less. To add to that, the market has also given us this overextended double top, and by the way, it is an overextended double top because the first leg is much higher than the second leg, and it has a neckline there, and we know that the neckline aligns with the 50% Fibonacci retracement level. So should price from where it is, move all the way to that point, this point would be a good area to look for potential sell opportunities, right? And ideally we want to see price actually move all the way to this level, right? Because remember, this level is the neckline of that W structure, as well as a very strong level of support. To add to that, it also aligns with where this structure actually started, right? Remember, it started here, and ideally we would love to see it end there, in line pretty much with where it had started. Let's have a look. Let's just zoom in and see what's happening on the H4 chart. Let's have a look. Right. So we have another interesting pattern. As much as the market had given us that double top, which is right over here, in addition to that head and shoulders pattern, right, we can also see that at this point in time the market has given us an opposing structure in the form of this pattern over here, right, which is the opposite of that head and shoulders pattern. It's actually an what do you call this pattern again? It's called a inverted head and shoulders pattern, excuse me, with this side being the left shoulder, this being the head, and this area over here being the right hand shoulder, and it too has a neckline there, more or less. And we can see that price at that point has violated that neckline, and we may see the market actually move further up to this level at the very least, or even continue to move further up to close pretty much in line with that pattern or that level, which is pretty much where this head and shoulders pattern started, this inverted head and shoulders pattern rather, right? So what am I saying? What I'm saying, in other words, is that buying or selling is going to be a bit tricky because we have two opposing structures. Let me just do this quickly at this neckline, which is, I would say the neckline is over here somewhere, right? Yeah, so as I was saying, we have two opposing structures. Let me just zoom out. Number one, remember, guys, we have this pattern over here, right, which is a head and shoulders pattern, and it tells us that we may see price bounce off that level and move that down, right? To add to that, we also have this pattern over here, which also tells us that because this structure started here, we may potentially see the market move all the way to that level to close pretty much in line with where it had started, right? So what am I saying? Again, what I'm saying is that buying or selling within this region is going to be tricky, as the market may go in either direction once it reaches that level. So we just need to be careful. But ideally, in conclusion, remember, guys, we spoke about how we want to see price, push that down to this level, and that level is where we would look for potential buy opportunities, because it is a very strong level of support as well as the neckline of that W structure.